I know for a lot of people, budgeting is one of those things that sounds absolutely fantastic as a theory, but to stick to one is something else. And I know that a lot of people want to find ways in which they can find a budget that genuinely works for them and that they can use to help them reach some of their financial goals. Trust me, I totally understand. I know it's hard to think that I actually at one point in my life, really struggled with the concept of budgeting, and for the most part would make these budgets and they would never stick. But I have come to a point in my life now where I genuinely do have a budget that I stick to, that I thoroughly check, and have actually enjoyed the process, because not only has it taught me to be acutely aware of how much I am spending, but it has also enabled me to save a lot more money and of course start using that money to make me more money. So as you know on this channel, I genuinely do like to give you all the latest tips and tricks that I have learned and I am using to transform my personal finances, in the hope that it will help you too. So if you enjoy this type of content, please make sure to hit that like button. So in today's video, I really want to talk about budgeting and how you can create a budget that suits you, and importantly also one that you can stick to. For me personally, it took me some time to get to a point where I could find a budget that I genuinely liked and genuinely could stick to, because for the most part, I used to treat it as like a wish list. So this is how I would love to spend my money. This is how much money I've got coming in every month. And this is how I would like to spend it on different things, as opposed to using it as a guideline and showing me how I need to spend the money that I have in order to reach my financial goals. So be it saving for a house, paying off debts, making sure that I was saving money for an emergency fund as well. And so it's taken me some time to create the budget that works best for me. And I'm sure if you asked Yvonne 5 years ago, she would just be like, no, not interested. I don't even need to budget because I'm okay. And I would have laughed at the idea of being a fan of budgeting. But now I've started to see that budgets are an essential part of my life. And to be honest with you, had it not been for a budget, I probably right now would be spending a whole heap of cash on coffees and buying expensive toys for my son, and then hoping at the end of the month that I had something left over to save. And if that sounds very familiar, then this is the video for you. And that's why I've come to the point now where I'm so happy to talk about budgeting, and I'm happy to teach others about budgeting, because it has genuinely freed me from some of the anxiety and the worry that comes with money, or even the disappointment that you get when, for example, you think you have an amount in your head of how much you have in your bank account, and then when you check, it is significantly less than that, and just the dread and the annoyance that comes with that. So having a budget has really transformed me, and it has genuinely freed me from some of those thoughts, and has helped me get to a point where I actually do enjoy looking after my money. So the first thing that I will say is, before you even get through allocating how much money you're spending, it's really, really important to understand your finances. It's important to understand exactly how much is coming in and how much is going out and where it is going to, because trust me, if you're not doing regular checks on your expenses, you can be utterly shocked by how much is going to certain areas. And I know that this was specifically true for me when I found out how much I was spending on coffee. So it's so important to make a point of understanding exactly how much money is coming out of your account. What I would personally suggest is that you get a minimum of the last 3 bank statements and you go through them line by line and understand exactly what it is you are spending on and how much you are spending on each of these things. Then you can start to categorize them based on what area they're in. So for example, you can have categories like rent, utilities, clothing, food, makeup, whatever it is that you want to do. Alternatively, you can even go down a level and start to list it by stores and how much you are spending on specific shops. So for example, it could be that actually you might find that you have an overall grocery bill for $200, and it could be that you are spending it in many areas. So you might want to have a budget for Tesco, a budget for Aldi, a budget for Sainsbury's, whatever it is, or just have an overall budget for food. You have to create categories that make sense to you. It's whatever you find will help you in understanding where your money is going. And I find that this step is so important because for a lot of people, they know exactly how much money is coming into their accounts, but they start having aspirational numbers based on different categories rather than actually genuinely understanding how much it is that you are spending. It's going to be really, really hard to stick to an aspirational budget because it's so far from reality. You are more likely to not hit those goals, and that way you feel like you can't stick to a budget and budgeting doesn't work for you. So what I would say, I would generally reiterate that the starting point is to understand your finances and start a budget based on where you are and how much you personally spend. Then the second thing that I would say is find a way to track your money. So you've gone through your statement, you understand exactly what it is that you're spending on the different categories that you set up. Now it's important to find a method for which you will be tracking how you are spending your money going forward on a month by month basis or on a week by week basis. Now, for some people, they like the aspect of actually having it on hand with a paper and pen and having a paper journal and genuinely going through that and tracking it down by paper or pen. But others prefer using apps that will help not only in categorization, but also give them a summary at the end of the month to show them exactly how much they're spending on each of those categories. Or alternatively, you have a few of us who genuinely like to have an Excel spreadsheet where you can write it down yourself and you can track it down yourself based on your categories. You can just add formulas that will add it up to the end. So I will be doing a series showing you how you can budget your money on different salaries based on an Excel spreadsheet. So if you do want to see that, please make sure to hit that like button and to subscribe so that you don't miss the notification for that. But the important thing is, regardless of what method you use, is always making sure you are tracking and you are aware of how much you are spending on a month by month basis. Then the next tip that I will give you is find a budgeting strategy that works for you. So there's so many budgeting strategies out there, which shows that there isn't a one and all deal for everybody. Everybody works in different ways and everybody budgets in different ways. And it could take a whole video for me to go through all the different options out there, but I won't in this video. I'm just gonna talk through a few that you could implement. So if you prefer to just have an overall understanding of your expenses and understand how much you want to save, then I would suggest using something like the 80-20 rule, which is a very simple budgeting method that says that 80% of your take-home pay goes towards your spending and 20% goes towards your saving. So for example, if you have £2,000 coming in every month into your account, then you would allocate £1,600 for spending on everything, and then you would save £400. And I quite like this one because if you don't want to create specific categories, but you just want to make sure that you are managing your money in an easy way, then this is a budgeting method that can work for you. And if you want to make saving a priority, then this is really, really easy. And that way, you just know that you have to save £400 a month and the rest you can spend otherwise. But if you want to kick it up a notch and you want to understand exactly what different categories you are spending money on, and if you want to differentiate between saving and the things that you would like to spend on, then I would suggest maybe looking at the 50-30-20 rule. And the 50-30-20 rule is a rule that basically says that 50% of your take-home pay will go towards all your fixed expenses. 30% will go towards all your wants, anything that you want to basically spend your money on. And then 20% will go towards saving and making saving a priority. So for the 50%, you would use it on your fixed expenses. And these are things that you basically need to have a roof over your head and to survive. So we're talking about having your rent, your mortgage, your utilities, your food, everything that you basically need has to go within your 50% of your income. 30% will include anything that you basically want to spend on, whatever categories you've decided. Maybe you want to make clothing a priority, going out, but you will allocate it based on a want rather than a need. And then you will allocate 20% to your savings. So let's take our example that you have £2,000 income coming home, you would basically say that £1,000 of that income goes towards your rent and all your fixed expenses, and then you would have £600 towards your wants, so whatever it is that you've categorized that you want to spend money on, and then £400 will be saved every single month. Now, it may be that depending on where you live in the world, you might want to adjust that rule. So for example, a lot of people I know living in London have a higher percentage of their income going towards their fixed expenses. So for a lot of people, they have 60 or 65% of their income going towards their fixed expenses. So you would adjust, instead of having a 50-30-20 rule, you might end up having a 70-20-10 rule. It just depends on where you are, regardless of whichever budgeting method you want to use. The whole point is to allocate your money in a way that will help you manage your money better and also help you meet your financial goals. So instead of just waiting and seeing what is left over so that you can pay off your debt, you make it a priority to have a budgeting system that allows you to pay off your debt in the best way possible. Another tip that I will give you is to always allow flexibility in your budget. It would be wrong of me to say that once you have a budget, that is the only method that you can use and you cannot be flexible with it. It's absolutely wrong, because life changes, our needs change, our wants change, our priorities change. So it's important to adapt and have flexibility in your budget. So for example, maybe in one stage you really want to go hard on saving and you are saving for something that you really like. So you might adjust your budget to ensure that actually maybe the things that you want to spend on, so things like going out, buying coffee, doing takeaways, all those things, going to the gym, are all things that you can actually halt and you can shift towards your saving. Or for example, if you go through your budget and you find that you are constantly overspending on one particular area, then it's important to have flexibility in your budget, because it doesn't mean that you are bad at budgeting and budgeting is not for you. It might just mean that you might just need to readjust your budget in different categories to make sure that you are matching the amount that you are spending. And this is a lesson that I've learned, because I found that it's so important to give yourself flexibility and to adjust your budget in accordance to your needs. I found that has helped me stick to a budget a lot easier. So in order to stick to a budget, it's really important to be honest with yourself with where you are starting from, where your finances currently are, and how you can make your finances better. And to truly ensure you stick to your budget, it's important to start tracking how you are spending your money, and then make sure I include budgeting as part of my everyday life. So I make time to review my budget on a weekly and monthly basis, because for me it's really important to understand exactly how much I've spent per week, as well as understanding my overall budget per month. I personally would say that it's important to do it as frequently as possible, and at the minimum you should do it monthly. But if you're starting off, I would say start understanding how to track your expenses and how you are performing against your budget on a regular basis. I also like to set up a special time each day to go through my budget and to go through my bank statements to understand exactly what it is that I've spent. So just like I like to make a cup of coffee every morning, I make a habit that when I'm drinking my cup of coffee, so just quickly go through my bank statements and see what has come out, what hasn't come out. But it just makes it a habit for me to constantly be aware of where I am financially, without having to think that looking at my bank statement is a bad thing. And of course, other than just making budgeting part of your daily life, is also to make sure that it is as fun as possible. I did mention before, if you like paper journaling and you would prefer to write it down, get yourself a really nice journal, something that you like, and get yourself all the accessories with it. So albeit pens, paper, stickers, whatever it is that will help you with it. If you don't want to create a budget spreadsheet yourself, purchase one online that you can use that has already been created for you, and all you have to do is plug it in, and that makes life a lot easier. Because sometimes, trust me, I know, thinking about building an entire Excel spreadsheet to do this for you is off-putting in itself unless you're an Excel lover, you know. So find ways to make it fun and make it exciting, and also make it part of your life. And of course, make sure you have some goals associated with your budget as well. It's really, really important to make sure that you're not just budgeting for the sake of budgeting, but you have financial goals that you have set, because trust me, if you have financial goals, it will make budgeting a lot easier, because you have something to look forward to, something that you are working towards. And if you want to find out how to do financial goals, I have an entire video dedicated on setting up financial goals, so I will link that in the description down below. I genuinely believe that everyone can find the right budget for them. It's just a question of trying it out and seeing what works best for you, as opposed to what works for somebody else. And trust me, at the end of the day, it will be totally worth it. It will not only transform the way you think about money, but it will also transform the way you manage your money as well. So let me know in the comments below if you do manage to find a budgeting system, or if you have found that you have stuck to it. What are your top tips? Is there anything that I have left out? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to join us every Sunday for a live session where I will be answering all your questions that you have in relation to money. Please don't forget to check out these videos, which will show you everything that I am doing around saving money and living a frugal life. And until the next video, do take care. Bye.